Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out. To the rest of you, hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Again. Um, so you can see on the screen here to whom we're reacting again, and more specifically, which video in this playlist to which I'm reacting. I may do more than one, depending on the time, but I probably don't think I'm going to do more than one in this upload. So let's go ahead and get to this now.
The fallacious belief being propagated by the Tomasiyin. And that is that Instagram is wildly inflating women's egos and causing them to drastically overestimate their own sexual market value and what that value can obtain for them from men.
Now, when he says Tomasiyin, he's referring to, largely he's referring to Muslims who are red pill aware and who follow Rollo Tomasi. I don't know any Muslims that follow Rollo Tomasi. If they do, they're probably ethnic Muslims who aren't really practicing the faith above their own cultures. If they do exist, they're probably coming from a few Arab communities in the West or a few Indian communities in the West, the marriage markets amongst them, which have been seriously damaged because they're already in a precarious situation back in their home countries. And then it just gets worse and they become destabilized when they move to the West. So the materialism becomes just rampant in both the women and the men, and usually in the men on behalf of the women and their families. Because they're chasing a dream, even more so than they are back in their home countries. So he's referring to them, if any Muslims at all. But he's going to talk about Instagram, as you can see right there in the title, Women and Instagram Ego. He's going to bring statistics that many of us don't know, or a statistic, and it's important. So pay attention to it, because I want you to understand that this man is not lying. When he's wrong, he's still sincere. He's just incorrect. And it's based on what he knows and what he doesn't know. Let's hear some more.
The idea is that these women are following men on Instagram who are 6- and 7-figure income earners, and that's causing them to misjudge the actual availability of wealthy men and making them think that it's easy to find a man who makes that kind of money, which is then causing them to demand exorbitant mahars because they have a completely unrealistic expectation about how much money most men can afford. The idea is,
now, mahar, that's the dowry that the husband pays to the wife when they get married. Yes, we do have a situation where in any developed nation, whether it's the West or it's a Muslim nation, in any developed nation, there are a lot of ladies that if they have a modicum of looks, they start to go up in the dowry. They want more and more and more. That's where the problem comes in, because you got Muslim women that are following on Instagram each other and TikTok, mostly Instagram. They're following each other. And so they're only showing certain parts of their lives that they don't mind showing. So consequently, each of these women thinks that the other woman just doesn't have many problems in life. So he may be comparing apples and oranges here. But as I've stated, the Muslim women are in fact imitating, in the West especially, they're imitating the women that aren't even Muslim. So since they're looking for marriage with a dowry paid, yes, they will easily inflate that even without Instagram. They will inflate it because too many women in the Muslim communities discuss the dowries and how much they got.
Is also that through using filters and camera angles and makeup, these women are convinced that they are at the high end of sexual attractiveness and thus deserve rich and successful men. This is the idea. This Instagram-fed inflated ego is causing them to look down on average men because all day long they scroll the accounts of millionaires and they receive endless affirmations in their comments and DMs about their own beauty and attractiveness. Okay, well, first of all, according to red pill alpha male theory, high-value men should be too busy on their purpose to bother with posting on Instagram. So I'm not sure who these millionaires are who have so much time on their hands. But
well, that's the thing. Muslim or not, red pill aware men are not sitting up and saying that most of these guys that are posting on Instagram are in fact millionaires. Many of us don't say that they are, but the women, um, a millionaire may have somebody posting for them, depending on who they are and what they're doing. Now, celebrities, when they're not busy filming something, might do that, or even when they are busy filming something, might turn around and put something on Instagram. But in general, the men that have to work for their bread and are making a lot of money aren't that busy on Instagram. So we're not saying that actually non-celebrity wealthy men are busy posting on Instagram. We're saying that the women are busy following the ones who they want to follow amongst each other and amongst the men, and then they want to, and that's what skews their perception of reality and what they can actually get. Without Instagram, you have this problem.
But possibly the theory got that part wrong, and high value men do have a lot of extra time on their hands to post pictures of their yachts and cappuccinos on IG. Could be. And presumably these millionaires on Instagram that the girls are all following must be from the extreme outliers of wealthy men who are under the age of 35, because men over that age barely participate on the platform. Only about 3% of male Instagram users are in their 40s, which is when most men start to actually own wealth. So, okay, maybe it's possible that there's some millionaire outliers in their 20s and early 30s who are actively posting on Instagram and being followed by delusional young women.
If there are these outliers, and there are bound to be some outliers, but those outliers would actually be the ones that these ladies would follow if they're going to follow millionaire men who are also on Instagram. Okay, now he is set up and he has, whether he meant to or not, identified the outliers these women will follow. So he's already now saying the chances are a bunch of these women are following the same few outliers. That could very well explain a lot. Now, what does this have to do with the Muslims that he's talking about? Let him explain more.
It's not statistically likely, but okay, we'll pretend it's the case. So what about women's out-of-control egos? Well, sadly, but predictably, red pill theory is wrong again. It turns out research has found that Instagram is worse than any other social media platform for women's self-image, self-esteem, and overall mental health. Oops. Despite what many men...
No, there's no oops. You see, two things can be true. And this is where he has the right to ask the question, but it's a question that must be asked. And this is where, because he is a man and he's logical, he's thinking with logic, which is not wrong, but he forgot what he's been telling us in the same playlist right here, which is, well, women aren't going to always be logical and they're going to abandon logic at times. We have always known this. He knows this. He said it in this playlist. But now he forgot. Why? Because he doesn't understand that it's war. Even when these ladies have logic, they weaponize the logic against us because it's war. And when they're illogical, they weaponize it against us because it's war. Either way it goes, they're looking to separate us from the things in life that they want, that we must work to earn, and they only work to separate us from them. They work to take them from us without working. That's the only work they do. Much like my students, well, like uh, many of the students in my university. I just found out a few hours ago that the lady who teaches in the same classroom as me, but teaches after me, gave a test, and when she gave one of the reading tests, it was either reading or listening. When she gave that test, all of her students finished within under a minute, and they got hundreds. Somebody found a way to hack into some professor's account and be able to go in and get the test questions ahead of time. And whoever was able to hack made sure the other students didn't even have to learn how to hack. They didn't even have to read the reading passage on this test. They went in and gave the answers. They didn't use their phones. So what this means is they memorized it before they even had the test. Can you imagine? They put in some serious work for someone to finally hack, get in, and then to share the rest with everybody else. I can't cuss word believe that. But that's what they did. That's why if I ever have to log in to the screen, if I ever have to log into the screen, the big whiteboard screen, the electronic whiteboards that we have in class, I tell the students to stand outside while I type my password in. That's one of the reasons I do that. Because if I don't, they'll sit up and watch me as I type the password in and then use that to log into mine. Now, it's not all of them that'll do it. What I'm saying is that they're not going to be consistent. They're going to put all the effort into getting it the wrong way. So studying would actually be a bit easier. Well, these ladies, in a nutshell, are looking, they're willing to do a whole lot of working, plotting, planning to take the things away from you that they want in life, but that you must work for so that they don't have to work. He's failing to understand. He told us that they'll go back and forth between being logical and illogical, but then he forgot. See, in his age group, they were not at war with them. In my ethnicity, in his age group, they've been at war with us. And in my ethnicity, in my own age, and he and I are not that far apart, they're at war with us as we know. This went over his head. But he's got a playlist responding to our awareness like it's automatically blasphemous and antithetical to having any kind of faith. No, it's not. The reactions could be beyond the bounds of what we're allowed to do. Some guys say, no, get a vasectomy, run through these women, fornicate with as many as you can. Myron Gaines said he's Muslim, and he turned around and told people to do this. Get as high a body count as a man as you can, and then he tells the women, don't do that. Yeah, but Myron Gaines also called some parts of our own religion shady. He said that. So this guy's actually responding to a very small group that don't even take seriously what it is that we believe in the first place.
And think. Posting selfies, whether touched or retouched, filtered or unfiltered, causes women to feel more anxious, less confident, and less physically attractive. I'll link.
That's very true. If there's actually a stat that Instagram is worse for women's self-esteem, and I believe that at least the stat was there in order for him to say that. This man, like I said, he doesn't have a track record of lying. But understand this too. Even if it damages their self-esteem, guess who told us and explained this? Olivia Alexa. Olivia Alexa set up, and also Alexander Grace set up and told us that when these women are not approached by the men they want, they're already upset. But if they are turned down by the men they want, they turn around and they take it out on the men that come up and approach them later. The men whom they don't want have to pay the worst prices for them being declined by the men they do. This is why it is that they're sitting up there feeling this way about themselves, feeling low self-esteem, and then turning around and still giving you the business. If you even so much as like their Instagram pictures, either they ignore you or they shoot you down.
Link to the study in the description. Women who actively use Instagram suffer depression, anxiety, sense of isolation, and low self-esteem more than women who do not use the app. So again, the red pill is acting like a hallucinogen. Let me propose an...
So I went ahead and scrolled down to the link in the description, and you can see the video here, the title. You can search for it, and then you can get to that link. I'm not going to open it up because I don't disbelieve it anyway. I just understand why that could be true, and yet red pill aware men of any religion can still observe the same things that they've been observing. If you validate these broads, like I have been saying from before, if you even stare at them, that doesn't mean they have not been turned down by the men they want. It means that you are going to pay dearly for that happening to them. Yeah, see, I told you. I said earlier today, when it came to hygiene, you're staring at women whose looks may be in order, but their hygiene is bad. And if you were intimate with them, you'd find this out. You have to know this. So you got to stop and think about what their dirty socks are going to, well, their sweaty socks are going to smell like. They're not going to smell any better just because she's cute. What's her diet like? That's also going to affect how she's going to smell when she sweats. If she doesn't eat a fruit or a vegetable, what do you think she will smell like when she sweats? What do you think her socks will smell like when she sweats in the summer or even in the winter? If you could get into their laundry hamper and just take a sniff, you say, oh my God. And that's if you even want to go that far. I already told you that when these women are missing something in their hygiene, they may not remember what the hell it is, but there's something about them about which they feel insecure, something about which they're conscious and aware and they feel insecure about it. And then they also have that general insecurity where they don't quite know what it is. And that's probably because there are few nerves in the nose that can tell them their breath stinks, but it's in the subconscious mind. Or their crotch is rank, but it's in the subconscious mind. And so then they have that general anxiety for reasons they're not aware, but they know they got it. Self-esteem issues, they're self-conscious about it. It's like, okay, this I'm aware of, and what did I forget? So there's both, and they're dealing with that. But and yet and still, when you stare at them, not knowing this, despite this insecurity that they feel, they're going to turn around and try to make themselves feel better by nuclearly rejecting you. And hey, look, they will turn around and have one cell phone and then another cell phone, go shopping, and then put one cell phone up on the cart to try to catch you staring so that they can post that video later and say you're a creep. They'll go to the gym and set cameras up so they can say, this guy was looking at me. We're seeing them do that. Yeah, well, these women that are doing that, they're in the gym. They're probably not in too bad of a shape. Guess what? Breath stank. Tongue is funky. Every time they talk, their teeth duck. Baby, get a toothbrush, brush. I think I'll sing it again. You got breath like a dump truck. Every time you talk, your teeth duck. Your breath so strong. Ooh, her breath so scandalous. And I see the last brother couldn't handle it. Yeah, the strong song is what we should call it. Your breath is so strong. And I can't sing to save my life, but you get the idea. That's what they should have been singing. That thong, thong, thong. No, stop that. That breath is so wrong. And when they got this going on, they still are looking to try to get you on camera so that they can show themselves rejecting you. It's still that. And since they come with the ego and low self-esteem all at once. You get the worst of both and the best of neither. That's part of why it is that a lot of men in the West, no matter what their faith is, are sick and tired. Even if you're Muslim and you're chaste and you have only related to ladies as either a relative or a husband, or you've discussed marriage with them before becoming a husband, even if that's the route you went, you still had to deal with the worst of both and the best of neither. That's why there's a frustration that there is.
An alternate hypothesis. It seems more likely to me that average men are scrolling Instagram and seeing picture after picture after picture of seemingly perfect women with perfect faces and perfect bodies, and they feel desire for them. But they simultaneously feel that those women are unobtainable due to their apparent perfection, except by high-value men. They imagine that these women feel the same way about themselves that the men feel about them. But they know, of course, that they will probably themselves not reach that level of wealth and success as the high-value millionaire men who they think are the only ones who can obtain those women, since the overwhelming majority of us do not.
Now, what he's saying has some truth to it. There are men who are not red pill aware that are doing this, but he wants to try to correct red pill aware men. No, red pill aware men have either bypassed this mindset in their development, or they've already gotten out of it, outgrown it, gone through it and outgrown it. One of those two. Which one is it? Because see, that mindset he just described, it does exist, but it's not amongst the red pill aware men. I don't scroll through Instagram. Then again, I'm beyond that age range. But the younger red pill aware men I know don't go strolling looking for the Instagram models, thinking, "Oh man, you know what? If I could just get a hold of you." They don't walk around thinking like that, because we know that they're filters. We know that these are booty pics. Hell, sometimes they take these selfies in a bathroom mirror, and we could look at the bathroom and say, "Oh man, this broad living trife. Oh, she looks great, but this broad is living trife. She's so busy putting makeup on, she doesn't know how to floss and brush her teeth." We can see it. And so, no, we the red pill aware men are not doing this and then thinking this way. What we are noticing is that while they look bad without the makeup, they're still sitting up and saying, okay, with bad hygiene and when their looks are not in order, they're sitting up and saying only the wealthiest and the top 10% of earners with the top 10% of height and muscles can get us. That's what a lot of these red pill aware men are saying is not acceptable. That's an unacceptable delusion on their part, and they got to stay single if that's what they're going to live, if that's how they're going to live.
Become millionaires, and so they start to feel resentful and inadequate, which they then blame on these unobtainable women whom they have made unobtainable by their own projection.
Nope, no, they don't make them unattainable by their own projection. Because these broads have had guys pay attention to them on social media, they become unattainable to normal men. But then they can't attain the men they want. Those men are already taken. Plus, they know that these women are just regular or beneath regular, and so the ladies are resentful. The men just don't like being lied to. As I've always stated, it's not women declining that really puts you into a rage. It's the lies and the deception that will put you through the red pill rage. And then you being blamed for being single when they're reacting the same way.
This then becomes the theory stated above, that all women are narcissists and gold diggers who have no interest in average guys. This idea, of course, may be exacerbated by any failed, ignored, or rejected attempt to slide into one of these girls' DMs, or perhaps exacerbated by actual encounters with legit gold diggers, women who use apps like Instagram for glorified prostitution. So men start to
What happens when, and I didn't mean to make this to maximize the video, what happens when all of the ones with whom you can interact on Instagram or in real life, pretty much all of them become gold diggers unless they're just really not that attractive. And even if they're not that attractive, they're gold diggers. What happens when they tell you, in a nutshell, I'm bringing my 3 kids and you need to come childless with 2 cars to your name? And one of them needs to be a minivan for all of us or an SUV, something with a lot of space. And don't ask me to have no more kids for you. What happens when this becomes the norm? Maybe not always in real life, but in real life, they just don't say anything. And then on social media, they tell you this is what they want.
develop a skewed view of reality, unaware again that most of the women on Instagram in real life are average, normal, and open to relationships with average, normal guys, as is substantiated by the marriage statistics about who marries who. So Instagram is actually preventing us from understanding each other. It's causing us to be confused about each other, and then to start thinking the worst about each other.
Now, this was recorded in 2021 or 2022. This was pretty much after a lot of the COVID lock-ins. What does that tell you?
But one thing is for sure, the Tomasiyin theory is complete rubbish. Again. Jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum.
The other thing is that that's actually not the Tomasian theory. That's the other. That's one of his theories. It's not just his though. This is actually an observation that we are seeing. Now he is right. Social media can damage the way that we get to know each other, but that's not something that the men chose. It's not stopping men and women from understanding each other. It is that women refuse to allow men to understand them. They may not understand themselves. They may. I guess that changes from woman to woman. It doesn't matter. They have decided that they don't want men to understand them. We're not using social media to block women from understanding us. That's not it. Now, these dating apps have their own studies that they do, and they're probably not reflective of the general population. But if they're the only ones that have these studies, and the general population does not have the same studies done, then we just go with what we got. But so he could have a valid point that social media sites and dating apps may have studies done that aren't reflective of the general population. That's a valid point. But that doesn't mean that what they find or the trends they notice are completely useless either. However, I have told you before, leave them dating sites alone. Don't try. I've said this before. Leave the market alone. Do not make the effort, because one thing that is true is that your effort is not being appreciated. I hope that this helps. More to come later. As always, thank you for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout, Assalamu Alaikum, Black, heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it in Black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.